What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Shred Show Live, episode 2 today. We had Laura Brandeo on earlier, and now we've got the one, the only, Jonathan Tallinger. If you don't know him, I don't know where you live. You must live under a rock because JT is all over the place in this industry. Every event, everywhere you are, JT is at, and he's always a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to the valuation and appraisals going on in our industry. We're going to get to that here in just a second, but if you're just joining us, make sure you comment hashtag class today. I like that hashtag class. That's what we're going with because JT's a classy guy. He's actually dressed down for us. He's usually a suit and tie guy, but he's dressed down and he's hanging out with us today. And guys, if you have questions, we're going to be fielding some questions when it comes to appraisals. We're going to deep dive into this. So if you're joining us live now, make sure you comment hashtag class. But JT, for those who don't know you, share a little bit about Jonathan Tallinger. How long you been in this industry? How long you been with class? Share a little bit about you.
Josh, thank you so much for having me. Tough act to follow, Laura. So she's one of my favorites, a great client, great partner of ours. So I'm looking forward to catching up on that one later. And thank you for rocking all the class gear today. Looking sharp, man.
Hey, you know what, man? We do our best. We definitely do our best. That's for sure, man. Having a lot of fun today.
Yeah. So I've actually done like the dress up, dress down, dress back up thing. I was in a t-shirt like that yesterday and a hat on some of my calls and so I'm kind of in between today. But so it's been a crazy, hectic couple of weeks. I think the whole year has been everyone's been busy, but we're in a whole different type of busy right now. There's just so many things changing by the minute that everyone needs to be available, needs to be answering their phones, needs to be quick to respond to things. I have been at class. We started at class as Class Appraisal in 2009. I was the first employee. I helped start the company. We changed our name about 2 years ago. So it's kind of fitting more with where we think the valuation space is headed as opposed to just appraisals. But I've been there since day one. I've worn almost every different possible hat there. And then now I run really the relationship growth, sales, marketing side of our business. But so thank you so much for having me on. As you know, I'm a huge fan of yours, a huge fan of the show. And I'm hoping to be able to give any insights or any info or any updates or any guidance on what's going on right now with valuation and this crazy market that we're in.
Let's talk about that because there's a lot of questions. There's kind of a lot of uncertainty when it comes to what's going on in the appraisal world. There's a lot of, Fannie, Freddie talk, Ginnie Mae, this and that, but there's people talking about, I've even heard so far, and this is where you got to get your facts straight, ladies and gentlemen. I heard people talking about, they're going to do away with appraisals. Appraisals aren't even needed anymore. That's not going to happen anytime soon, right, JT?
I certainly don't believe so. I'd be, I guess anything could happen, but I certainly, our understanding and our conversations that we have, we think that the valuation space is secure, and we're going to be a part of collateral, determining collateral and collateral risk for a very, very long time to come. Certainly at Class, we've invested a lot in technology and innovation and being part of the changing face of what's going on with collateral risk. Our goal and our intent and our investments have been really to help put money behind the appraisers, to help enable the appraisers to not be removed or being a lesser part of the process, but more so to spotlight them and make them a bigger part of the process, but put the tools in their hands and give them the resources to be able to provide more efficient, more accurate valuations that can streamline things, hopefully save some time to get loans closed faster long term.
I love that. Hey, and everybody real quick, I don't know why, but it says it's live with Laura Brandeo. You guys know we're not live with Laura. We're live with John. We're not sure what happened. We got our tech team working on it. Something apparently happened with Restream.io. But yes, we are live with Jon Tallinger, not Laura Brandeo. So we're hanging out with JT. So don't worry about it. We'll get things changed. But so JT, when it comes to the future, there's so many pieces of technology that have come out. There's a lot of people talking about, limited appraisal waivers. But how is Class really responding to everything that's going on in particular? And how are you guys being part of the solution when it comes to streamlining the process? And what are you guys doing really to help with that?
Yeah, good question. So you'll if you haven't heard it already, you'll hear a lot more of the term bifurcated or bifurcation, in the near future, or as we continue to progress. And it's essentially just splitting up the valuation or appraisal process, whether that means that it's the same appraiser or two different appraisers, or a non-appraiser, workforce working in concert with an appraiser. The theory there is essentially, you would have a appraiser in the field with specific tech, specific tools that we have helped them build, and specific apps that allow them to go more efficiently, more effectively, more accurately go do the field inspection of the house, walk through. There's a specific type of camera that we have, called a Theta D camera, and there's a device that we can actually use in concert with an iPhone, where the phone actually scans each individual room of the house, and it's timestamps, and it takes a couple hundred photos of each room and kind of captures all the details that are there. And the prevailing thought is we're actually doing this right now with appraisers, in certain markets and in certain instances. The appraiser in the field can go do many inspections and just simply do a handful of field inspections in a day, and send that information securely back to a different appraiser who is strictly doing the desktops, who is doing the desktop work. And so the two appraisers working together in concert to come up with that valuation. And there's many different ways that that we can do that. It's already been used very prominently in like the HELOC space right now, but we're starting to see that become more mainstream. So exciting. There's a lot more tech coming, and a lot more things we're going to see. More efficiencies are going to be coming out sooner than later, I would say.
And I think efficiencies is one of those conversations that we love talking about tech, and like some of this tech. I mean, I know I'd heard about these cameras, but these seem like pretty sophisticated devices, and they are making things more efficient. They are making things quicker. And I think that's something we can look forward to. Yes, there is concerns about people going into people's homes. And I've heard consumers are worried about people coming into their homes and doing these appraisals. But ultimately, that's what class is all about. That's what you guys do, is you are looking for innovation. You are looking for new technology that you guys can really work into the industry to simplify the process, and ultimately simplify it for the consumer, or simplify it for the originator. And that's really what you guys are focused on. What are some of the things that you guys are hearing in particular at class that maybe the myths, some of the things that you're like, guys, this isn't true. Like, let's squash this right now. This is absolutely not factual. Something that Laura and I talked about this morning is there's so many people saying these things, but what are some of the things that you've really heard that you're like, hey, let's set the record straight. This is not the case.
Yeah, so good question. And there's, especially right now with everything we have going on with COVID-19, I think every one of us has probably received multiple emails or text messages or calls from people who know someone who heard this is going to happen, and either that thing that they mentioned did happen, or in many cases didn't happen. So we're in a big time of a lot of uncertainty, or I don't want to say fake news, but you really have to dig through and figure out what's fact and what's just noise. So appraisal waivers, for instance. I can't give you all the information. I can't see the future and know exactly what's going to happen down the road. But I can tell you right now, like in response to COVID-19, we heard early on, well, they're going to just do appraisal waivers for everything. That didn't happen. Fannie Mae didn't make, as far as I know, did not make any changes at all in terms of appraisal waivers. Freddie Mac did make a slight adjustment where they essentially aligned with where Fannie already was. So that was just moving from a certain loan amount to from one spot to another. But so our waiver is going to put appraisers and appraisals out of business. We don't see that happening anytime soon, or at all, because the data that the appraisers are collecting in the field is what's helping to drive that machine that's putting together the data where that helps to make those waiver risk assessments. But certainly some of the things that we've heard is, hey, our borrower is going to, from their home, is the borrower going to be able to use their iPhone and do the picture and scan and send it to the appraiser. you never know. Things could happen. Things could change. That may happen at some point. We don't see that happening anytime soon, at least not long term. Right now, there's some things that we're putting in place, in response to COVID-19 that we can talk about a little bit. Where if the appraiser isn't able to physically go and inspect the house, where maybe it would cascade down from a traditional appraisal to a desktop appraisal. Yeah, in that instance, the appraiser still needs to be able to provide a credible report. So they have to gather whatever information they can. If that means calling the borrower or the agent and getting as much information as possible, getting pictures, getting videos from them inside the house, as much detail as the appraiser needs to complete a credible report. Yeah, so those are a couple of things we're hearing right now.
And I think it's really, really important for people to understand that human interaction and actually getting factual data when it comes to home values is really, really important, because the last thing we want, I mean, back in the crash, 08, 7, 8, 9, appraisers were blamed for a lot of the, over evaluation, and, we don't want any of that to happen. So there are people like, oh, we don't need appraisals anymore. We're just going to, basically state the home's value. That is not something we want. Like, that is not good for our industry. So some of these originators, some of these professionals in our industry, even I've seen real estate agents talk about it, like, oh, we're basically just going to be able to write on contracts whatever homes are worth these days, because people aren't going to go out, and we're not going to have appraisers going to homes anymore. That's not something we want. Like, as a matter of fact, that's a bad thing for our industry. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's still some mechanism where a risk-based decision has to be made, and so we're part of that process. We realize that as an appraisal management company, we're just one piece of a big process, but we're a pretty important pivot piece, that plays a crucial role in that spot. So like I said, I don't see massive changes to that anytime soon. And I think the changes that are happening, a lot of them are being made, most of them are being made with the appraisers in mind. Not how can we remove the appraiser, but how can we, more efficiently utilize those appraisers.
And I think that is it, is how can we more efficiently utilize them? I don't think we want to get rid of, and I love that you mentioned this whole iPhone thing. Like, we all love these devices. I'm not saying we don't love our iPhones. We love them. And yes, they're very sophisticated pieces of equipment, but I don't see the world of appraisers or appraisals going in the way of iPhones where you just scan a room. There's some fun apps that I've played with that people have talked about. They're like, oh, you can learn the square footage of your home. I don't think anytime soon, especially like you said, JT, I don't think we'll see full appraisals go in that direction. We need that appraiser. We need, again, as we are the advisors and the experts in the field of origination and home loans, appraisers are they're the advisors and the experts when it comes to home value. There's so much more than just square footage and this and that goes into an appraisal. They understand the market, they understand the community, and that's why appraisers are so valuable in the end.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And again, this is something I have so many friends here locally in Utah that are appraisers that own appraisal companies, and I've had conversations with them leading up to this that I was going to talk to you today, and they're like, Josh, we've never been busier, and now we are working with companies like Class and other AMCs and companies that we're finding ways to be more efficient. We're finding ways that, again, we ultimately want to be able to work with the consumer, work with the homeowner, because ultimately that's who we're trying to help and we're trying to assist through this process. So what would you recommend for all those originators out there, especially when it comes to the consumer? What education do we need to be getting to the consumer? Because again, there is a little bit of backup in the process. There's kind of a speed bump that we have going on. What should originators, how should they be advising their clients? What should they be telling them? What's best for originators to be taking to the consumer right now?
Yeah, so there's different ways to look at that, on a macro level and a micro level. In terms of what's going on right now with COVID-19, obviously it's having an effect on our market. It's having an effect on our economy. Fortunately, we're have been considered essential services, so we're able to keep the wheels moving in the mortgage in that process. So we are still, for the most part, business as usual. Of course, we're working remote. Of course, we have appraisers taking extra precautions and not going into homes when they don't feel comfortable going into homes. But the best thing that I can say on a micro and a macro level for originators is to set proper expectations up front. For us right now, things are changing very, very rapidly. Even before we started dealing with the coronavirus stuff, 2020 was really kicking off to be a very busy year. Rates were and still are historically low, even to the point a couple of weeks ago where applications were so high that appraisers were at capacity, lenders were at capacity. So set proper expectations. If you're used to a 5 or 6 business day turn time, speak with the appraisal management company and find out, hey, in my market specifically, in these counties, what are we looking at so we can set proper expectations? Don't do a lock that's not going to allow you to, make sure you have plenty of time to get the appraisal and everything else completed in time and have to scramble last minute. Just realize that behind the scenes, we're doing everything possible to make sure that we're selecting the best appraiser for every single assignment, the appraiser that's going to be reliable, that we have a good work history with, that we know is going to have a good quality score when we get the CU scores back, and very, very familiar with the market. In some cases, it's going to take a couple days longer if we're dealing with fallout from things that are going on out there. So setting proper expectations is really, really important. The biggest advice I can give other than that right now with changes, if there's any effect on the loan or the appraisal, or anything that's being put on hold or a stop because of any concern with getting into the house, brokers, originators, please speak with your lenders, speak with the lenders, and make sure that what you're trying to do, that you're not making a snap decision just to try and push to trying not to tell the AMC, hey, do this specific product, do this exterior only. Got to speak with the lender and make sure that especially like on a refi, is it Fannie? Who holds the loan now? Is it Fannie? Is it Freddie? Because there's a matrix there, and if you haven't seen it, you guys can reach out to me directly. I'll help talk you through anything, but making sure that we're following that guidance, not only from Fannie and Freddie, from the agencies, but also from the specific lender that you're working with.
That's probably the greatest advice. If you don't know, ask somebody who does. Don't just state it. This is where being the advisor, you don't have to have all the answers, especially when it comes to appraisals. You're not the appraisal expert, ladies and gentlemen. Guys like JT are. He's the one that you need to reach out to when you have questions. Reach out to Class Valuation. Find out before you start putting out stuff on Facebook and social media, or you're talking to your clients or consumers. Don't just start posting random stuff that you heard on social media. Fact check first, talk to JT, make sure it's correct. And there's so many things, like you mentioned, JT, that you as the originator can make this process go smoother if you know what's going on. And if you're, and I love that you talk about, make sure you're setting proper expectations. Right now, we talk about over communicate, and we've always sold that as a value in this industry is, we over communicate. We're experts. Now is the really time to double down, become the expert, partner with incredible people like JT and Class Valuation, so you make sure that you have the facts going into those conversations with your consumer. So JT, man, I always appreciate you. You're one of those guys that is absolutely just one of the most knowledgeable, and you're a leader. Everybody loves when they get to hear from JT. So we appreciate you joining us on the show for a few minutes this afternoon.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, Josh. And God bless you and your family and everyone out there. And the one thing I want to say, if I can say really quickly, is if you have the opportunity, if you're in a situation where you're, we're fortunate right now that our business is still churning. We're going to see some disruption here and there, but if you still have paychecks coming in, if you have the opportunity to pay people that may be affected by this, service providers, the guy that cuts your lawn, the person that plows your snow, maybe paying them in advance, people like anyone like that who's going to be affected. Start thinking about that at a time. If there's anything you can do, just being the good human in us, trying to do what we can to try and take care of the people around us, offer to help, because there's a lot of people. I think there's a ton of people that are being affected by this. And anything that we think, anything we can do to help, let us know, because certainly we're all in this thing together. This is a global thing. So.
Oh man, that is a perfect place to end, ladies and gentlemen. JT, that is such great words of wisdom, because there are so many people who are going to we're just starting to see the beginning effects of this. You and I were talking about this. So if you get an opportunity to be able to support a local company, support those people who have helped you or support you in the past, now especially we are in a very blessed industry, ladies and gentlemen. I know things are chaotic. They're a little bit crazy right now, but for the most part, we're still very, very fortunate. And if you're one of those people, and hey, if you need help, reach out to us. We have great connections, great people throughout the industry, and we love to help you guys and everybody in times of need. So with that, JT, thanks so much, brother. As always, we appreciate you being here with us today on the Shred Show.
Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it.
Guys, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time to go shred. Go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See you soon.